Hello everybody and welcome to another video in our Minecraft plugin development series. Today I'll be showing you how to write nice messages in the chat such as this one, and if I do, I'm about to be blown in the air. So you can combine this to have an amazing cannon or blowing explosion effect. I'm not gonna die because I have creative mode. Anyways guys, welcome to this protocol library packets understanding packets video. So I'm going to be teaching you how to manipulate packets, which are invisible chunks of messages sent between the client. This is what you can see on the screen, and the server. This is what you can see, but it's running in the background. And we're going to be using the plugin called ProtocolLib to make sure that it can do some cool stuff. Are you ready? Let's crack into it. Okay, so let me start off by explaining what packets are. As you can see, this is the Minecraft client that we're running, and then this is the Minecraft server. Let me open up the board of justice and let me give you a quick illustration. So the server is right here, and then we have players trying to connect to the server and play on the server. Okay, so this can be one player. This is me, name doesn't matter. This is John, and this is, I don't know, Alex, right? The names just do not matter. And all these players trying to connect and play on the server. Well, the way that it's gonna work is the server needs to synchronize all of these three players together, and then whenever you do something, let's say I go into the game and I try to break this block, right? Well, if this player breaks the block, how does this player see that the block has been broken? Well, there is a thing such as packet, which is simply a compressed message in Java. We call this a byte array, which is sent over the TCP communication protocol. You don't have to understand this. This is just for geeks if you want to geek out on this. But basically how it works is that the server has, and I explained this in the first video in more depth, so please refer to the first video if you need to learn more about it. It has a heartbeat, so it has a infinite task that goes in circles, and it helps to synchronize all these packets. So let's say I break the block, right? This player breaks the block. So what's going to happen is this player is going to send the packet to the server called, hey, I broke the block packet, called, I don't know, block update packet or something like this. Then the server is going to redistribute this over to all of these other players that the block has been broken. Also, before it does, it's actually going to ask a plugin if the block can be broken. It's going to call the block break event. And in case the plugin says no, we cannot break the event because this is a protected region, right? You have a World Guard plugin, for example. Well, in this case, it's not gonna send the update to any other player. What it's gonna do is actually gonna send the packet back to the player so that on your screen, you're actually be able to see, where is that? You're actually being able to see the block being placed right back in. So it's going to look like this, right? That's why there is a flicker, especially if you're trying to connect to a server that's super far away from you, or your internet is not that good, you know, in nice terms. Then what's going to happen, you're going to see this delay, and this is because the first player is going to the server and then from the server back to you with the same block, so that you can actually see that on your screen. So again, packets, small compressed messages that are being constantly sent from you to the server and from the server to you and to other players to synchronize everything, because the player, this client, he knows that, you know, this is a grass and it can render the grass because it has the textures and everything, but it doesn't know the positions of the blocks in the world, and this is the task of the server to keep in touch. Likewise, it knows how to render a player like this, but it doesn't know if there is a player on the server, so the server has to notify each player of every other player's position, for example, right? There's tons of packets. Let me just go to a website called wiki.vg. So if you go to this site, it looks like this, and you click on a current protocol specification, you're going to see all of these packets, and there's a lot of them, so don't freak out, right? We're just going to be interested in very few of them, so I'm going to make it very easy for you. You can read the definitions in the packet format if you are masochist and you like pain, because this is really difficult to understand. So I'm just going to skip right over it. I'm going to explain what these packets right here are. Okay, so basically, for the sake of simplicity, Minecraft decided to split packets in different categories, right? This does not matter. It's purely for cosmetics, but basically you have the handshake, then you have the login, and then you have the play, if I'm not mistaken. So that's how it works. So you got a handshake category, which is when you're trying to connect to the server. Then you have the status. Sorry, yeah. So the status, I think status is unrelated. Status is only if I'm going into a multiplayer right here. So this is status, right? Hypixel, this Hypixel network is a status which is being sent to the client before it even joins, right? But it's unrelated. When I'm about to click the connect button, if I click join server, it's going to go through the handshake, through login packets, and then finally play packets. And play packets are these packets that happen all the time when you're actually joined the server. And I'm going to leave all the links to these websites in the article below, in the blog post below. So click on that if you need to learn more. There's also going to be sources and everything. So it's really nice for you to navigate yourself. So first of all, we're going to go through handshake in, and then log in, and then finally play. So let me, for example, start off with a very simple packet called explosion. And you can see it's right here. And you can see that the play has two categories, likewise have the other ones. So the first one is client bound. The other one is server bound. Here it is about the destination. And guys, I know it's confusing, so you almost have to take a note on this. When I say server bound, I mean from you to the server. When I mean client bound, it means to you from the server. So this is really the destination. Again, client bound means the server sends a packet to you. You are the client. Server bound means you, the client, send the packet to the server. Again, you will forget it, no problem. Just take a piece and paper and have a good pen and put it somewhere on a piece of paper so you remember it. Okay, so when it comes to the explosion packet, for example, this is sent when an explosion occurs, right? Creepers, TNT, and God knows what else. And the way it's going to work, each packet has a custom number, obviously for the client to determine which packet it is. And then the state is just the phase, so the play phase, bound to the client. Very confusing, but again, it means that the client is the receiver of it, so from the server to you. And then it has a bunch of fields, right? So each packet has a bunch of information. This, you can think of that if you are in Java and you're creating a new class, packet explosion. So basically what this will do, what these fields are, right? You have the field type and you have the field name. So the vast majority of them will make sense like this, right? So basically these are just these fields, right? And then you have the float, which is strength. And then you have the packet explosion constructor, and then there is a void method, probably just called send to you as the client, right? And here it does a bunch of magic stuff, which I'm not going to explain, but you see, it's not that hard if you look into it. However, the problem starts with that some of these field types are actually custom field types in Minecraft. I'm not going to spend too much time because I think these are explained at the very top of this web page. Basically, var int is just an enchanted, better version of a simple integer, and this will count how many events, how many elements are inside this array. So basically it's just the size of the array, right? So some of this is going to be funky. That's why we're going to be using a plugin called ProtocolLib. Welcome, because ProtocolLib makes it so easy to listen, cancel, and change, or make custom packets and send them. So ProtocolLib is the best way to do it. Of course, some people think it's not, and they try to use the NMS approach. I can cover NMS in a different video. Just so you know, NMS changes on every Minecraft update. It's very, very nasty to update, and it's just more complicated and more pain in the ass. Do yourself the favor, unless you like pain, use ProtocolLib. So we're going to be using ProtocolLib in this video. All right, I've explained the basics of packets. I've explained what these are. If you need more help, again, please refer to the very first video in this channel. It explains the whole mechanism, the server, the client, the heartbeat in more depth. Now, when it comes to importing ProtocolLib, we already covered this in the video about APIs and libraries. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I'm just going to say, if you go to the source code, here it is what you need to do to use it. So first of all, we need to place this into our folder, into our plugin YAML, which is this one. And I just placed it as a soft depend, because if you place it as depend, it'll crash the plugin if this ProtocolLib is not installed on your server. I do not want this. I want the plugin to optionally use ProtocolLib. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So make sure to change this to soft depend and then just place it to the list. If you already have something here, just type comma and yeah, just finish this like this. It's a simple list. So this is the first, and then place the repository inside your POM. So right here, we used to have repositories. I think I already covered this in the API video. Likewise, you need to copy paste the dependency. Now, the trick with this one is that it looks that it's outdated because it's 5.0. However, if I go to the dev builds, it says 5. If you download this, it's going to be 5.1, and this one supports Minecraft, the latest one, whereas I think 5.0 only goes up to 1.19. So in this case, what I like to do is I like just to hack it a little bit, and I like to download the dev build, the jar, and then I like to follow the API's video and import the jar as a system path dependency in case you want to have support for the latest Minecraft version. But in this video, I don't really care because I found this to be no problematic. This, even though it is a bit outdated, it still works on the latest one. Thankfully, ProtocolLib has a big compatibility, so chances are, if you code this once, it's gonna work for Minecraft like 1.8 to 1.35 probably. And yeah, that's it. That's all you need to do. Let me actually go into our GitHub and let me show you these changes. So yeah, that one was the plugin YAML. That one is the POM, yeah, tick. And here inside of the CowCanyon class, what I like to do in the onEnable method, let me actually show this in your actual class. Guys, if you don't have this plugin, we are creating this entire plugin during the duration of this tutorial series. And in the last video, we've just organized it into different sections for clarity. The last video I think was called Coding Standards or something like this. So make sure to follow this tutorial if you want to get the most out of it as it is. All right, so in the onEnable, in the main plugins class, what I do is I simply check if the ProtocolLib is installed, because I do not want to crash the plugin if it isn't installed. And then I simply created a new class called ProtocolLib hook, which is a final class, and inside of which I simply have one final static method called register, and I simply call it. So it is going to work if you have ProtocolLib. If you don't have it, we're just going to skip it, no problem. And then I'm just going to delete this code for now. What you're going to do is you're going to open up protocol library, get the protocol manager. You can store it right here. And then you can actually use the protocol manager. Let me just delete this code so it's easier for you to read, to add a packet listener so that you will sort of be the middleman between the client and the server. You'll stand in the middle and you'll intercept these packets coming from each side, right? And the way you're going to do so, you're just going to type in add packet listener, and then you're going to want to create a new packet adapter, and that one takes in plugin and packet type. I don't think that this one was the easiest option. Yeah, okay. So the plugin is the first one. I'm just going to go with the plugins instance. Listener priority doesn't have to be there. If you want to learn more about these priorities, check out the video about events. So essentially, we're just going to go with the simplest constructor with this one. The plugin is the instance, and then the packet type is a packet type. This is an enum, and you can open this, and here you can see the different states. So we have handshake, status, login, and play. You can disregard these two. And then this is a bit confusing again, because the client means from the client, right? From the client to the server. So it's actually the opposite as it is on the website. That's why I told you, keep notes, because you will be confused. And I was confused for months until I memorized it. So it's completely understandable. So I'm going to open up the client. So that means the packets that the client sends. And here is a vast selection. And this is roughly what is on the website. You have to use your common sense, and you have to also use Control and F to find these names. So for example, chat, if I go to the site, where's the magic site? It's right here. And I type in chat, I like to go to the top, and I just like to look at the packets right here. So remember, this is the opposite way. So the server bound right here is to the server from the client. So say the chat message, right? In ProtocolLib, it's only called chat, but whatever, you'll get used to it. And again, you have to use common sense to look for these packets. And here, we can see that it has a field called message, and it is a string. So what we can do, we can go into the CowCanyon and we can start listening to it. There's two methods which you can override. First one is called onPacket receiving. The other one is called onPacket sending. And I believe that we used to have onPacket receiving, because this one it means that the server is receiving the packet. Again, this is a packet coming from the client to the server. So if you override this method, you're going to end up with something like this, right? And here you can listen to the packet coming to the server. In case this is a server packet, then you can actually override on packet sending, and here you can edit the packet being sent from the server to the client. Hopefully that makes sense. You might have to rewatch this a couple of times or just experiment until you get it right. But again, on packet receiving, in case we're dealing with a client packet, means simply the server has registered a packet coming from the client, right? In this case, ProtocolLib calls a packet event. You can get the actual packet by calling event.getPacket, which will return something called packet container. And to get the fields of the packet, you have to use something funky. Let me just clean the code to show you. So if we want to get the message, remember the fields right here, right? So we have to count the index of the field. If there's two longs, then the first one is on the index 0, the other one is on the index 1. So the way it works is that we're going to call packet.getAllLongs and then read and the index of the field. So the index 0 is going to return the sold. No, it's going to return the timestamp because that's the first long. And then to get the sold, we have to actually return the long at the index 1. It's a bit, again, it's a bit different than what would make common sense, but that's just how it works. So when it comes to getting the message, again, there's just one string. If you look through this, and then what you can do, you can just get all strings and then read it at index 0. So that's the message. And if I go and I type in sound, received message, you'll see that it'll simply print out what we type in a chat, for example, hello or whatever, right? And here comes the fun part. So you can actually also get the player. Now be careful when getting the player, especially when it comes to the packets which are at Handshake, login, and status, because the player will not be able to execute all actions. So all methods, such as, if you want to teleport the player, obviously if you're dealing with a Handshake packet, the player does not even exist at the server yet, so be careful with this. I can actually get the player, and then I can actually check if the message contains some nice words, right? And then you can actually cancel the packet, and you can send the message to the player saying bad manners, for example, to sort of, punish him. So this is a great way for a chat filter, although it's not the best because Bukkit has the async chat event, which I think I covered in the events video, or definitely it's covered many times throughout this training. We actually deal with chat in the adventure video in this tutorial series, but this is just a great example because essentially this is going to happen before Bukkit, so that Bukkit will not even have a chance to fire this event if you want to catch it early, right? So this is how you can create a chat filter. Also note that the entire packet sending happens async on a different thread. So be careful when you're dealing with Bukkit. If you specifically want to, I don't know, do some modifications, set a block data or set the block type, be careful with this. I do recommend then you launch this inside a Bukkit Runable. And I do think I covered Bukkit Runables in the video about APIs, because there we also had the problem with async. So make sure to synchronize it back on the main thread. Otherwise you may end up with data corruption if you try to manipulate the main world. All right, so that's it. Now, it would be fun if the video would end here. Obviously not, it would be damn boring. So the last part of this video is I want to teach you how to actually send a custom packet. And if you go to ProtocolLib right here, you can actually see the example of this right here, sending packets, right? So I do recommend checking this out. There's actually a class inside the NMS package called packet playout explosion. Again, the problem is the code gets obfuscated. It looks like B.A and it changes on every Minecraft version. So we don't want to use that. In ProtocolLib, what you can do, you can actually go and create a new packet container for a specific packet. So this one is just called explosion. And then if I go into this and I look for explosion, we can actually write our custom fields into it, right? So here it says get doubles. Where's the explosion packet? Is right here. And then we can just write the double at 0 index is X location, Y is the first index, and then the Z. And then the strength is the first float, right? The get float, that right? And then there is, I think these two are counted as one, get block position collection modifier. Okay, so again, Protocol Library tries to make it easier for you to sort of create classes for these weird things. Sometimes it's just about luck, sometimes it's just about getting to the packet and then just scrolling through this get item slots, and trying to figure out what makes sense from the wiki, right? Getting remote chat session data. Okay, I haven't seen that one. It seems new, for example. So it's just about spending time with it, using common sense, and reading the wiki, trying to understand the connections to it. So I think these two are the get block position. And then here it just writes on the 0th index, right? And then this is just an array of bytes, and it seems like ProtocolLib just gives us an empty array, so it doesn't really matter what is there. And then, because I honestly do not even understand what are the sign offsets of the exploded blocks, right? It seems like it does not really matter what we put there as long as this is a fake explosion. And then there is a vector. So these three floats are connected into vectors, and we're just going to get the player's velocity and add a fake vector so that each time we're teleported and we're pushed away into one direction. However, when I tried to copy the exact same code, what I found is that this is the exact same code, and I found that Minecraft had actually changed, and if I try to type the vector, it's not going to work, and I had to actually go get the float and write these floats on position. Remember, this is the 0 index, 1st index, 2nd, 3rd, so I had to do it manually. And where's my code? Okay, this is getting too much. This is getting out of control. So I simply I simply created a new vector, and maybe I can put the vector above so it's easier. And I get the player's location, and I get his direction, right? So I actually created the code a little bit better, because that one is just going to get the player's velocity, which is basically if you're falling down, you have negative velocity, but the direction is where you're looking at. And I simply multiplied the direction by a negative minus 1.5. So it means that we're looking at the ground, we're going to be pushed up. If we're looking up, we're going to be pushed down. So we're basically going to be pushed to the opposite direction where we're looking with this strength. You can type in 10 if you want to, but I warn you, it's going to be too much. And then the vector has the x, y, z parameters, which are doubles, so I simply had to cast them to float. Okay, and then you call the manager.send the server packet for the given player, and this is the explosion packet, the packet container. So again, this is how it works. Hopefully that makes sense. I know we've covered a little too much in this video, but hopefully it's going to make more sense when I debug the server and I show you how it works. Okay, so in the game, if I type in something, for example, test, you can see the in message equals test. This is coming from this one, so we can actually print out this packet. And if you would change this to, say, server, client, look, or something like this, and you would attempt to print out the packet, you would see a spam because there's just way too many packets. I think every single time you look around the camera, there's like 5 or 10 packets being spawned into the client. Just a funny side note. So here we go. I've typed test. We can now see this in the console. And if the message contains, I don't know, Dame, you can see bad manners. So the packet is being canceled. No other client, not even the server can then see this, so it does not even appear at the console level. And then we're going to get the player, send him a message called bad manners, and then we're going to get the vector created depending on where the player is looking. If I'm looking down, I'm going to be thrusted up. If I'm looking this way, I should be thrusted the other way. And then we're going to create the fake explosion packet and then simply send it. And then the client is going to see this on his screen because the client received the packet. Now, question is, will other player see that packet? And the answer is no. If I type in Dame again, you can see that all we see on a different client is the player being pushed downwards mysteriously. We can't see the explosion particles. The reason is that this packet only exists at an abstract level and it's being sent to only this player, right? If you want every other player to see this, you would have to iterate, get all online players and send it like this. Otherwise, it's only going to be visible to this player, which is great. If you want to have custom features only visible to certain players, then you can of course use packets. It's just going to be way easier. And also, of course, there's not even the API. So I think there's block explode event in bukkit. Well, if you send a packet like this, bukkit is not even going to call the event so that other plugins cannot interact with it and cannot cause any conflict. So it's a nice way. Obviously, packets are just that. If you attempt to send a fake block destroy packet, next time I disconnect and I join the game, the block will be placed back because the block was not really destroyed. It was just a fake signal, a smoke signal from the server to the client using your own block destroy packet, but the actual block still exists on the map, and it also exists for different players, so different players will be able to see the block still. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. If you want to learn more about Minecraft plugins and Java, I do recommend you check out the program called Project Orient. The link is below in the description. Not only we have 7 weeks of content just for creating amazing Minecraft plugins, including GUIs, custom entities, custom enchants, custom items, mini games, how to sell your plugin, how to get international clients, how to grow your server, how to build an anti-cheat and everything like that. But also we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you join, if you don't like it, no worries, we're just going to send your money back. And I'm on there twice per week to provide personalized help on something called live call. So you can join me twice per week, and you can actually share your screen live. You can speak with me either via microphone or via chat, and I can help you guys instantly in real time, which is way better than any Discord server out there. So anyways, the link is in the description. And with that being said, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Take care.